So, um, I think one of the biggest questions that we have, especially if you're Catholic, you've probably seen like the Da Vinci Code starts to get more into, was she more? And I, as a Catholic, I am not supposed to think that she was more, but I do think that she was more. I don't know if it's because I'm French and French Canadian and all that, and I just felt like more of a connection to that whole part of that, she was more. But in one of the non-canonical, I don't know how to pronounce that freaking word, but
Canonicals, you got it.
gospel, it was in Philip that there's a part where it says that Jesus loved her more and that he would kiss her. And the word is missing, but people think it meant on, like the missing word was on the mouth. So I don't know if you ever heard this,
Oh yeah,
but
it's in the books I've got that he was
yeah.
kissing her on the mouth, and also the reference though of what the symbolism of the mouth meant during those times. It wasn't just to kiss on the mouth. He would have kissed any of the disciples on the mouth because it was a transmission of spirit.
Oh, I've never heard that actually.
Yes. And so
Even the
that's
men?
where yes. So it's not written that he would kiss the men, but it's written that it was a transmission of spirit. There's many theologians who are the backers of like Mary Magdalene, saying like this was not just a typical relationship. This was not just some woman who was alongside following, the boys around and trying to keep up and, funding this mission. It's like he was behind closed doors with her and he kissed her on the mouth. So
Well,
it
that was the
seems to
thing
me,
I've always wondered. And what's the director? He does all the gangster movies.
Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese.
No. Yes, him. He does actually a really great, I think it's on HBO, where he goes through the different like saints and does kind of like a theatrical, and he does one on Mary Magdalene, and he actually sits down and he's talking with priests and he's talking with people in the Catholic Church of um her being alone with him, and these were things that were not really allowed in the Jewish culture back then. If you were not married, those types of like, if you, I guess, courting had to kind of be arranged. I think that also in The Chosen they do a good part where they have one of the disciples ends up getting, engaged to a woman, but she's actually not really in the Bible. They just create it, but just showing how you really had to like have someone with you at all times because you could not be alone. Like men and women couldn't be alone. And then she was going to go and clean his body in the tomb, and that's why she went to the tomb. And they're not saying it has to be this way, but for the most part this was something that a wife would do when their husband would pass. Or you would have thought it would have been Mary, Jesus' mother, that would have went and done that, because usually it's a family member. But if you were married as a wife, also, um, they called him rabbi, which uh, you had to be married. I don't know if you had to be married, but typically to be a rabbi that you were married. And it wasn't very common for men his age to not have a wife.